Nights in White Satin is a 1967 single by the Moody Blues, written by Justin Hayward and first featured on the album Days of Future Past. It is in the key of E minor, and features the Neapolitan chord. Single releases: when first released in 1967, the song reached number 19 on the UK singles chart. It was the first significant chart entry by the band since Go Now and the recent lineup change. It is an edited version of the album track that also has the orchestra removed. The song was re-released in 1972 once the band has had major album and single successes, and it charted at number 2 in November on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 1 on Cashbox in the United States, earning a gold certification for sales of 1 million copies. It also reached number 1 in Canada. The song also holds the dubious distinction of the highest complete Hot 100 disappearance from the pre-digital download era, vanishing entirely from the chart after falling to number 17. It was also released in Spanish as Noches de Seda at the same time. In the wake of its US success, the song re-charted in the UK in late 1972 and climbed to number 9. The song was re-released yet again in 1979, and charted for a third time in the UK at number 14. There are two single versions of the song, both stripped of the orchestral and late lament poetry sections of the LP version. The first edited version, with the songwriter's credit shown as Woodwave, was a hasty-sounding 3/06 version of the LP recording with very noticeable chop parts. However, there are many versions of the single that are listed on the labels at 3/06, but in fact are closer to the later version of 4/26. Some versions, instead of ending cold as most do, segue briefly into the symphonic second half, and, in fact, run for 4:33. For the second edited version, the early parts of the song were kept intact, ending early at 4:26. Just about all single versions were backed with a non-LP B-side, Cities. Band member Justin Hayward wrote the song at age 19 in Swindon, and titled the song after a girlfriend gave him a gift of satin bedsheets. The song itself was a tale of a yearning love from afar, which leads many aficionados to term it as a tale of unrequited love endured by Hayward. The London Festival Orchestra provided the orchestral accompaniment for the introduction, the final rendition of the chorus, and the final lament section, all of this in the original album version. The orchestral sounds in the main body of the song were actually produced by Mike Pinder's Mellotron keyboard device, which would come to define the Moody Blues sound. Although it only had limited commercial success on its first release, the song has since garnered much critical acclaim, ranking number 36 in BBC Radio 2's Sold On Song Top 100 list. Late Lament, the spoken word poem heard near the 6-minute mark of the album version of the song is called Late Lament. Drummer Graham Edge wrote the verses, which were read by keyboardist Mike Pinder. On Days of Future Past, the poem's last 5 lines bracket the album and also appear at the end of track 1. While it has been commonly known as part of Nights in White Satin with no separate credit on the original LP, Late Lament was given its own listing on the 2-LP compilation This Is the Moody Blues in 1974 and again in 1987 on another compilation, Prelude. Both compilations feature the track in a slightly different form than on Days of Future Past, giving both spoken and instrumental tracks an echo effect. The orchestral ending is kept intact, but recording engineers have completely edited out the gong that closes the track on the original LP. From 1992 through the early 2000s, the Moody Blues toured with shows backed by live orchestras. When with orchestral accompaniment, they often took the opportunity to include Late Lament in the performance of Nights in White Satin. On these occasions, Edge recited it himself since Pinder was not in the band at that point. False claim of authorship Les Jelly Roll. In the late 1990s, the UK magazine Record Collector printed a claim that Nights in White Satin had not been written by Justin Hayward at all, but that in fact the Moody Blues management had simply bought the song outright in 1966 from an Italian group called the Jelly Roll and taken credit for it. This spurious claim seems to have arisen from the discovery of a 7" single by the Jelly Roll which carries the words "This is the original version of Nights in White Satin" on the label. Actually, Les Jelly Roll was a French band who did this cover of the Moody Blues song, and had the opportunity to release it in Italy, on Ricordi, a few months before the original was released there. So, as a joke, they put the famous sentence on the cover. Personnel: Justin Hayward, lead vocal, acoustic guitar; John Lodge, backing vocal, bass guitar; Mike Pinder, backing vocal, mellotron; narration, gong; Ray Thomas, backing vocal, flute; percussion, Graham Edge, backing vocal, drums, percussion; additional personnel, Peter Knight and the London Festival Orchestra; orchestral arrangements, chart positions, theme park attraction and other uses. The work was reinterpreted as the focus of Nights in White Satin, The Trip, a dark ride at the Hard Rock Park theme park in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, USA. The attraction, which included 3D black light and fiber optic lighting effects and purpose-made films, was developed by Sally Corporation and John Binkowski of Hard Rock Park. Riders entered through a bead curtain, were provided 3D glasses, and upon return were greeted, "How was your trip?" Visual effects, digital CGI and special effects were designed, produced, and installed by Attraction Design Services. Ride vehicles were from ETF. The attraction operated as The Trip for the single 2008 season. The park operated as Hard Rock Park, but was rethemed with the sale and retitling of the park. Park officials said the experience will be similar but the presentation will be changed. Other uses of the song: this song is featured in Wolfgang Petersen's 1991 film, Shattered. This song is featured in the 1992 film, Split Second. This song is featured in Robert De Niro's 1993 film, A Bronx Tale. This song is featured in Martin Scorsese's 1995 film, Casino. This song is featured in Rob Zombie's 2009 film, Halloween 2, a sequel to his 2007 remake of the 1978 film, Halloween. This song is featured in Bertrand Bonello's 2011 film, House of Tolerance. This song is played over the opening credits of Tim Burton's 2012 film, Dark Shadows. This song is featured in the 2006 comedy parody film American Dreams. This song is featured in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, a novel by Stephen Chbosky, as it appears on a music playlist by the novel's protagonist, Charlie. This song is featured in The Boat That Rocked. This song is featured in the Heath Kirchart segment in the 2001 Transworld skateboarding video Sight Unseen. It is also featured in the Wise Guy episode No One Gets Out of Here Alive, in the climactic scene between Vinnie Terranova and Sonny Steelgrave. This was removed in the DVD release. The song is featured in the TV movie The 70s. This song is featured in Deuce by Garlow, European Gigolo when Deuce Gets High on Space Cake. This song is featured in the Fringe episode In Absentia, appearing in the background as Walter Bishop addresses his future self on a videotape. This song is featured in the Freaks and Geeks episode Girlfriends and Boyfriends. Sandra version, Nights in White Satin is a dance pop cover version performed by German singer Sandra. The song appeared on Sandra's sixth studio album Fading Shades. It was produced by Michael Crotto and received mixed reception from music critics. The song was released as the lead single in the spring of 1995, although it failed to match the success of Sandra's previous singles. The song entered the top 20 in Finland and Australia, but in Germany, it reached a peak of 86, becoming her least successful lead single in that country to date. In the United Kingdom, it failed to enter the chart. The music video, directed by Angel Hart, showed only close-ups of Sandra's face as she was pregnant at the time. She even had to sit during the recording sessions of the album. Formats and track listings: CD single, Nights in White Satin €335, Nights in White Satin €529, CD maxi single, Nights in White Satin €335, Nights in White Satin €605, Nights in White Satin €529, Nights in White Satin €609, Nights in White Satin €402, 12 single, Nights in White Satin €605, Nights in White Satin €529, Nights in White Satin €609, Nights in White Satin €402, charts, other cover versions, Frank Porcel 1967, Beavers I Nomadi Ho Diffiso Il Mio Amore I Nomadi, Patricia Mesraves de Satin, French version, Dalle de Union Podemore, Tommy Carr Paragraph RBERG Nights in White Satin, on Nature Boy and Na Currency TTER av Sainad, Swedish version, on Judy Min var Currency N, Marie Rotrova Euro Slunts VSTA var, Czech version, Billy Davis, Claude Dengian 1970, on the album Moog. Eric Burdon and War, Johnny Maestro and the Brooklyn Bridge, Samuel Lilith Nights in White Satin, Diodato, Juliane Wording Wilds Wazza, German version, Giorgio Moroder, the London Symphony Orchestra, Bermuda Triangle Band, The Dickies, Carlos Futura Sound Fantasy Album 1979, Marie Lafora T. Blanche Nuit de Satin, French version, Elkie Brooks, John St. James, The Shadows, Jackie Chung on his EY Currency OEA album, 1988, James Last 1991, Alain Bashung, David Lanz, Sandra, Nancy Sinatra, Crossy, Lucy Barla NOCJ Jack Sartor Copyright NA Euro Czech version, The Bates, German punk band version on album Second Skin, Sword Soul, Mario Frangoulis, The Vision Bleak, God is an Astronaut. Tori Amos covered this song several times on tour during 2003 and 2005, John Cowan and Moody Bluegrass, Declan Galbraith, Il Divo, Glenn Hughes with John Frusciante and Chad Smith, Quidam, Irish duo RUA recorded a version on their 2007 album Whisper, Tina Arena on her album Songs of Love and Loss 2, 2008, Midnight Movies, Ferrai Bortzlacini a solo piano version on his Golden Memories 1 album. 2008, Diane D'Stasio, Collide, Cemetery of Scream, Powers of the Monk, Eugene McCarthy, Zed's Dead, Will Martin, The Man-Eating Tree, Betty Lavette, Jerry and the Pacemakers a Euro Nights in White Satin, Offa Nissim featuring Ivry Lido a Euro Nights in White Satin, Jennifer Rush, Damien Says, Celtic Thunder, Blumfeld, Rock Goddess, Ed Kavali on Get This, Matt Cardle, Donald Braswell II on his 2011 album, Unchained, Sin Fang, Craig Bevan, Deborah Sasson on her 2004 album Pop Classics, Transatlantic on their 2014 progressive rock album Kaleidoscope, Emily West performed it during the top 12 of Season 9 of America's Got Talent. References. External links, information on the song from BBC Radio 2.